Alright guys, welcome back to another tying video with Old Florida. Today we're going to be tying a Mark Giacobba's Blue Claw, which is a incredible redfish pattern for Everglades National Park. First thing we're going to do is take our thread, start right behind the eye of the hook, and then we're going to add bead chain eyes in, leaving just a little room because we are going to be tying a weed guard in. So we're just going to X-wrap these eyes on and parachute wrap a few times, making sure these eyes are nice and secure. And we're going to work our thread back to a little bit in front of the point of the hook, leaving just a little bit of room in front of the point. Then we're going to come in here with some estaz, tie that right on the top of the shank of the hook, giving 4 or 5 nice tight wraps. Then we're going to take this and do about 4 full turns of estaz, being the hot spot. We're going to stop at the bottom. I'm going to do 1 or 2 wraps backwards to line my thread up to capture the estaz. I'm going to palmer all that forward and capture it and tie 1 or 2 times in front. Then we could go ahead and trim that, make it nice and clean looking. I'm going to move my thread right in the middle of both of the eye and the estaz. Next step, I'm going to come in here with craft fur. I'm going to cut a piece of craft fur off. Thickness is going to be about 3/4 the thickness of a pencil if pulled tight. Right at the base. So when you pull this craft fur out, when you cut it off the hide, it's going to have a whole bunch of underfur. We're going to want to take our fingers and stroke all the underfur out. This just reduces the bulk of the fly quite a bit. Once you have all that underhair pulled out, we're going to get a nice candlewick tapered tip to it by pulling out the long fibers, just placing them right alongside. Once you get the general profile of what you want the tail or the wing to look like, then we could go ahead and measure about 2.5 lengths. The shank of the hook is where we want our tail. I'm just going to pinch it right there, and before I tie this on, I'm just going to cut right exactly where I want the back of this craft fur to line up with those eyes. I'm going to do a nice pinch wrap and capture that and tie that in right there all the way to the back of the bead chain eyes. I'm going to come in here the other way and grab it, and I'm going to wrap all the way to the chenille. This chenille is actually going to prop up the craft for a little bit, like so, and we want that. That's going to hold the craft fur up when we strip this fly in. Next thing I'm going to do is take our pearl flashabou. I'm going to move our thread right behind the bead chain eyes. I'm going to take 2 strands of flashabou. I'm going to fold it over the thread, gripping both pieces in my hand. I'm going to tie 2 and 2 on each side, so total of 4, 2 on each side. Alright, we're going to take our thread and just leave a little bit of a gap right there. I'm going to invert the fly at this point, and we're going to come in here with our MFC barred saddle hackle. And I'm going to strip right at the base of this stem. When it starts to get a little bit thicker than everywhere else, I'm just going to strip some of that hackle off. I'm going to take this and I'm going to tie it in right on the top side of the hook, right where those feathers or hackles start protruding out. I'm going to tie that down, and I'm going to stop halfway in between the eyes and the crystal flash, or sorry, the estaz. Then I'm going to take a hackle plier and clip the end. This really just helps palmering this material, being super gentle with the feather not to break it. And as you wrap backwards, we're going to palmer it all forward, being careful not to trap too many of the fibers. And we're just going to keep working our way toward the eye of the hook. And we're going to get about halfway with one feather generally. Once I hit that halfway mark, my thread's normally going to be there. You can do a couple back wraps or forward wraps if you're not where you need to be. We're going to take our thread, we're going to capture that with 2 wraps, pull everything toward the bend of the hook, and put 2 more wraps. Then we could just break that off. Then we're going to grab another hackle. I'm going to come in here, straighten the barbs out. Then we really don't want too much fluff when we tie in the second one. We want more of the barbs on here, so I stripped off all the fluffy part. I'm going to make this fly face downward. I'm going to tie this on the top of the hook again, butted right up against where we left off, doing a couple nice tight wraps all the way to the bead chain eyes. Trim that stem off. I'm going to invert the fly again, clip my hackle pliers on, and repeat the last step just by palmering this backwards all the way to the bead chain eyes. We're going to stop right behind the bead chain eyes and then do 2 nice tight wraps capturing that, and pull everything toward the bend of the hook and capture that. I'm just going to break the hackle plier off and just fluff this up just a little bit. I'm going to move my thread to behind the eye of the hook now. And then I have a piece of 16-pound Mason hard mono and flat jaw pliers. I'm just going to come in here with the flat jaw pliers and just flatten that and then give it a nice little bend to make it a hockey stick. Come in here, pull all the fibers back, capture the tip of that hockey stick, tie that down nice and tight with a couple tight wraps. Then I'm going to bend it forward, put a couple nice tight wraps behind the weed guard. I'm going to straighten this all out. I'm going to trim this weed guard right to the point of the hook. I'm going to bend it forward again. And I'm going to whip finish right behind 3 times. And I'm going to come back in front of the weed guard and whip finish 2 more times. And then we can cut our thread off. Next step is we're going to take a blue Sharpie, take this off the vise. We're going to lay that down on a scratch piece of paper. We're going to color about 3/8 of an inch on the flash and on the craft fur. This is really what gives this fly its name, the blue claw. It's basically imitating a crab, a blue crab, fleeing in a defensive position. We're going to flip this fly back over again and do the other side to really make sure we get coverage on everything. Redfish cannot resist this fly. Another very important step of this fly as well is we're going to come in here with our scissors on the bottom, flush to the eyes, and just cut everything flush with the bottom. What this allows is when you cast the fly, it's going to really want to make this ride hook point up. So this is going to ride super weedless. The weed guard is going to keep it from catching any excess grass while it lands super softly. And it's just supposed to imitate a blue crab, and it does a really good job of it. And that's the done Mark Giacobba's blue crab. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thanks for watching.